Drip is a very sensitive story to me, and whatever that is happening now, it is a true replica, an example of what you call nobody wants to see you win. There are so many comments and videos, content that ridicule the man and is having a field day with his downfall. As an entrepreneur myself and a student of accounting, I've done a fair share of learnings, and I have a partial understanding of what he's going through. So he's going through what you call a process of liquidation. Liquidation can either be voluntarily or can be mandatory or forced liquidation. So what he's going through, since there's a court order pushed by his suppliers or his creditors through the courts, it is now an official liquidation process that is forced to him, and it's no longer voluntarily. My 2 cents about this whole situation: yes, I understand people when they speak about how reckless he was with the marketing spend and the budget, and how fast of a growing business Drip was, and the rate at which he was opening these stores and having so much mall space or mall coverage could have resulted in his situation currently. But to me, Vetu, as a service provider, being the property mogul, it makes sense for you to do some due diligence on the company. If the company is already open 15 stores, what does the balance sheet say? Doesn't it say the store is over leveraged? What are the asset test ratios saying? What are the liquidity tests saying? What is the current ratio saying? Doesn't it insinuate that this person might struggle in a few years' time? And since you've been in the business of leasing out property, you might have a glimpse or an idea of what might happen in the next future if the business fails to meet target. I think a greater part of it, even with the marketing guys, if it's a marketing agents that run most of those billboards, because it's usually a few guys, the JC guys are usually the guys that own most of the big billboards all around South Africa. And if you see that your client now has been overcommitting himself into a big marketing spend, what does your business assessment say? Doesn't it tell you that now we are slowly moving into reckless lending? And reckless lending has provisions, okay, especially in the National Consumer Protection Act and also in NCR, National Credit Regulations or Act. So a part of me is saying charge to the service providers because they are part of the downfall. They overextended credit. So if you can't be over-insured, why are you over-credited? Why is that acceptable? Part of the problem is that. So I take part or allocate the part of blame to the service providers. And since people might know that the process of liquidation doesn't necessarily mean there is personal liability to Lekau, as he is the director and the owner of the business. The process of getting to him might come through surety if he signed service provider agreements and said, I personally, Lekau, will stand surety if the shit hits the fan. That's one option. But the also second one might be that the court might choose to pierce the corporate veil. When they choose to pierce the corporate veil, it's a process of when the court can say, you were very reckless, you were acting over and beyond the counter, and you are fraudulent in your activity. That's why you got into this situation. Therefore, we are piercing the corporate veil, the limited liability of the company, and coming to you And if you're married in community of property, we are not only coming to you, we are also coming to your wife and whatever you guys own. And all of that goes back to the sheriff, and the sheriff will distribute it to the company's creditors. And the other part might be SARS saying, hey, yo, bro, I see that you've been taking money out of the business, 100,000, 1 million, and just spending it on your personal capacity. Was there a loan? And if it was a loan, please pay it back. And the moment he pays it back, it means that there's more money the service provider gonna distribute amongst each other after selling off the assets. And also the other part is that if SARS says, oh, you've been taking this money, so what is it, Mr. Lekau? He says, no, man, it's remuneration for my service as a director. Then they'll ask him, where is the payee? Things like that. Why didn't you pay payee on this money you took? And then that's when they're coming for his personal things. And the other part might be him saying, no, as a director, I get paid twice. I get paid as a director, or a director's remuneration at the top, or as a shareholder getting my dividends. And this is my dividends. You have no right to get to my money. Rightfully so, but SARS can say, where's dividend tax? Because you need to pay dividend tax for every dividend you take. So there are many ways that they can get to him. But if he is foolproof in terms of protecting himself and keeping what is to the business, it means that it is a bad day for the service providers, because they stand to lose more money. They might not be able to retrieve all of the 20 million and the 100 millions and the whatever millions, because it is determined by how much stock does the sheriff or the auction organized by the sheriff manages to pull. He can go behind the scenes and come back as a different person, not necessarily change identity, but come as a different company and buy the very same asset at auction value. So it's not the end of the world as most people might wish it to be. It's not the end of it. And liquidation is a very famous business process. Whenever that you feel like the business is not able to pay its debt, you can take the sword and kill the business. It's a voluntary thing that you can do. And then the only problem that you might have is the stigma behind your name that says you've been liquidated or you've been submitted for business rescue. Or else, if you're trying to source funds and get some source of finance for your business or for other things, they'll always ask you, have you been a director of a liquidated business? Have you been a director? Are you a director of a business that was previously taken to business rescue? Then that is a process of the service providers that you are coming to as the new business, doing their due diligence to make sure that whoever they lend money is capable of paying it back. So otherwise, the man is still in a good book in terms of business strategy and things that can happen when a business is really facing so much trouble and so much dark cloud over its operations. But the most painful part is obviously the employee part. Those are the guys that really stand to lose a lot because there's no job tomorrow. If they bought cars, I heard that the guys were buying cars and the business was booming. So anyone who had commitment like that is facing a problem, because in the next month there'll be no income coming from drip. So those are the people that really face serious problems, because even as the owner of the business, you might have foreseen the problem before the world actually